Hey everybody, it's Blue, and today I have our deck profile for our Abidos deck. So we're going through with all of the Shadow Riders, and Abidos was the reincarnated pharaoh, although much less of a minor character pharaoh than the previous pharaoh, Egyptian pharaoh. Nonetheless, his deck is an interesting mix of pharaoh-based cards, and a lot of stuff that we threw in to get him there, because he only played so many cards in the anime, even cards from the flashbacks that we saw. So we kind of helped round out his deck a little bit, and we're actually pretty happy with the way it worked out. So to start off is 3 Pharaoh Servant, not the booster pack, 3 Pharaonic Protector. So the deck ends up kind of following along with Spirit of the Pharaoh, and it working a lot around those low-level normal monsters. Hercules Beetle, because it looks like a scarab, I guess. And then Sinister Serpent. So these and Hercules Beetle kind of came from the flashback we saw playing against the servants, and I guess they're thematic. I don't know, it's hard to they always pick up when they're thematic, and maybe they just have random monsters. But yeah, so he had an interesting character arc. Like, he thought he was a good duelist. Turns out all the servants were caving in to make him feel good about himself. But if you watch our duel, he actually was not a bad duelist. So 3 copies of his boss monster, Spirit of the Pharaoh. So it brings back all those level 2 vanillas that we saw earlier in the deck profile. And then later you'll see some support spells for them. So 2 Book of Life was not a card that he played, but we felt, again, was thematic. And it's a good card, too. It helps the deck out a little bit. 2 Pot of Greed. All of the Shadow Riders are getting 2 Pot of Greed. It's just a card we throw into a lot of decks. It kind of helps get it going a little bit more. 2 Secret Pass to the Treasures. So a card that we included, again, a little thematic, and also really works with those level 2 monsters. 2 copies of the second sarcophagus, and 2 copies of the third sarcophagus. All of that is just necessary to get Spirit of the Pharaoh on the field. They don't do anything else. 3 copies of Thousand Energy, and then 2 copies of Tri-Right. So we really tried to get the deck to work with those level 2, low-level monsters. So we threw in like this kind of stuff to really give it some support, so it can kind of have some function, even when he's not dropping Spirit of the Pharaoh. And these go with a lot of characters that play cards that support the strategy, even when the cards themselves are not, thematic to the character's theme. The preference is always to pull from the kind of theme that the character has, whether it's an archetype or just some contextual type. It doesn't stop us from throwing in just support anyway, just to help them out. Because you'll notice too, a lot of the decks that are scripted in the anime, they don't always translate well to TCG decks. Some characters really struggle to kind of get anywhere. 3 copies of Tribute to the Doomed. One of the best cards in this deck, and what really kind of helps him clear out opponent's monsters if he's struggling to get on top of his own monsters. That concludes the spell lineup. First up on the trap card is Embodiment of Apophis. This is a card we know Orion was the big guy that played it, but it does show up in some of the flashbacks as well. So it does kind of keep that card a little bit with his theme, and also gives him a lot of muscle if he's having trouble with those level 2 monsters. I know we want to make them playable. At the same time, we're not going to bank the entire deck on level 2 normal monsters. 3 copies of Magic Jammer. This gives this deck a lot of ways to shut down some opponent's cards, like Pot of Greeds, Polymerizations, anything that would make the opponent's deck a little bit more viable. And the last card is 3 of the first sarcophagus. So 3 of the first, 2 of the second, and the third. But these cards are what you need to drop Spirit of the Pharaoh. And if you can drop that, you have a 2500 tech monster, and it pulls back those low levels from the grave. So overall, we were really happy with the way Abidos' deck turned out. It's a mix of the cards that he did play, cards that we saw him have in the flashbacks, and cards that we threw in so that his deck was well-rounded 40 cards and had a nice function. We thought he was one of the cooler Shadow Riders. I can't say he was my favorite, but definitely earned some recognition for his deck. So catch you guys next time.
Thanks as always for watching.
And if you like this, we have over 100 different character decks on our channel. So check those out for some more awesome content.
And so you don't miss any content, make sure you subscribe and click the notification bell.